A Bloomington Rape Crisis Center has a growing waiting list after losing federal funding.
We saw a 70% attrition rate due to clients being put on the waiting list.
Its request for money from McLean County has prompted a lot of questions, as we'll explain just ahead on WGLT's Sound Ideas. Good evening, I'm John Norton. Also on today's show, next week's Highway 309 Live headliner tries to reclaim Americana for Black America.
These genres that are historically rooted in Black American culture, but are so often the least friendly, the least welcoming to us.
And putting people at ease by tinkling the ivories.
I can tell when people are relaxing a little bit more and enjoying it. So that's what gives me the most joy.
Those stories follow a Bloomington Normal News update just ahead. This is Sound Ideas on 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.
Support for WGLT comes from Bloomington Normal Audiology. Hear My Story continues with local patients Ralph and Carle Weisheit.
I was actually going to add that was one of the reasons that you went, was because I kept saying, you're not listening to me.
And she thought it was my hearing, yeah.
See what I got to live with?
Ralph and Carol's full story can be found at bnaudiology.com.
From the campus of Illinois State University in Normal, this is WGLT's news magazine, Sound Ideas. Good evening, I'm John Norton. A Bloomington-based Rape Crisis Center's bid for shared sales tax dollars reserved for mental health will go to the McLean County Board for a vote on Thursday. This despite questions surrounding the request for $100,000 in stopgap funds. That includes whether the request should have been brought to the county in the first place, as WGLT's Melissa Ellen explains.
The County Board's Executive Committee on Monday unanimously approved the Bloomington-based Rape Crisis Center YWCA Stepping Stones request for funds to help bring down the client wait list. The county's Behavioral Health Advisory Board approved the proposal last Friday, but members at both meetings expressed a need for clarity on procedures for funding applications going forward. Some disagreed with how YWCA presented the request to the county. Others thought YWCA shouldn't be eligible for the funds in question, which are dedicated to fulfilling objectives in the County Mental Health Action Plan, first drafted in 2016. YWCA McLean County CEO and President Liz German says the organization was encouraged by multiple county board members to apply for the notice of funding opportunity in December. It was also the only applicant. McLean County Board Chair Catherine Metzger characterized the situation during the meeting as YWCA, quote, reaching in for help from the county. She added that it was, quote, fine and, quote, appropriate, but that the county was not the one to determine sexual assault services as a need. While discussions at BHCC and the executive committee were mired by questions about protocol and procedure, German told WGLT that she's optimistic the county will approve.
I don't foresee people's vote on Thursday being about the process, because ultimately the need is there, and that's what we're really supposed to be focusing on.
Stepping Stones has had a lengthy wait list since it lost federal funding several months ago. It previously relied on the money, and it was gifted annually. At one point, the organization's wait list totaled 65 people. German said during the meeting that it caused them to lose clients.
We saw a 70% attrition rate due to clients being put on the waiting list, meaning when we started to call clients, many were no longer in a place to start services due to the wait.
Multiple community members spoke on behalf of Stepping Stones during public comment, including representatives from Bloomington Normal Hospitals. Bloomington Police Sergeant Kyle Nauer says the department relies on staff at Stepping Stones to provide the support that police are not equipped to provide.
So when we have a sexual assault survivor, we need someone who sees it through their eyes, who can understand and empathize with what they go through and can talk to them about it that way, because most of the police officers don't understand that world.
Nauers added that some in the department credit the uptick police have seen in sexual violence reports to Stepping Stones.
We're not seeing more sexual assaults, we're seeing more people reporting sexual assaults, which is what we're wanting.
McLean County Board member Susan Schaefer is on the Executive Committee and the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council. She expressed concern about the grant, reiterating comments she'd made at the recent behavioral health meeting. This included concerns that other organizations in the county will start asking for these funds.
It has nothing to do with the program, the agency, or anything like that. and what they do, because I think that they obviously do a phenomenal job. But it's more about others that had come to me in the community that said, how do I get in line?
Schaefer voted against the proposal when it was heard at the county's Behavioral Health Coordinating Council, but Schaefer said she was supporting it at the executive committee because the county's procedures were unclear.
I believe that to move forward and to make the process better, this can be a learning experience, I think, for BHCC.
There is nothing directly disqualifying Stepping Stones from receiving funds, as the center's mission to help sexual assault survivors in crisis aligns with the county's mental health action plan. However, this would be the first time funds from this shared sales tax are used to support an existing program. Prior spending of these dollars was on new programming. Bloomington City Council member Donna Bolin voted against the grant as a Behavioral Health Coordinating Council member. In an interview with WGLT, Bolin says she voted no because she questions whether the local tax dollars should be used to replace federal funding.
And personally, I do not believe it is. And I would say the same thing regardless of which group came forward and asked.
County Board Executive Committee members Chuck Erickson and William Friedrich said during the meeting that they had questions stemming from this discussion. Neither responded immediately for comment about what those questions might be. Again, the full county board will vote on this issue Thursday. I'm Melissa Ellen.
McLean County's Behavioral Health Coordinating Council is currently on hiatus. County Board Chair Catherine Metzger has suspended its quarterly meetings indefinitely. She says the group has not been fulfilling its mission. We'll have more details on that tomorrow on Sound Ideas. Melissa Ellen covers mental health as a Report for America Corps member. Report for America places journalists in local newsrooms across the nation to cover underreported topics.
Support for WGLT mental health coverage comes from Report for America and Chestnut Health Systems, caring for the community's physical and mental health and celebrating 50 years of service.
Billions of dollars are going to the states to fix the opioid crisis. What all that money gets you in actual practice. Next time on Marketplace.
Listen to Marketplace beginning at 5:30 this afternoon on WGLT, sponsored by CEFCU.
Nearly 1 in 4 community college students are balancing classwork with childcare.
I see the wheel on the bus.
The wheels on the bus?
Yeah.
The wheels on the bus.
What would it mean if they could drop off their kids on the way to class?
I can literally walk over here and check on him.
Opening federally funded preschools at community colleges tomorrow on Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm co-host Dave Martinez. Join us for Morning Edition weekdays from 4 to 9 a.m. on WGLT.
This is Sound Ideas, WGLT's news magazine. I'm John Norton. Singer-songwriter Chris Matthews was born and raised in Richlands, North Carolina. That's a tiny town on the outskirts of Jacksonville, but according to Matthews, most of the time you've got to go one more step over to Wilmington to figure out where she's from. Matthews is a preacher's kid and a Southerner through and through, returning to her roots with a recent move to Nashville after more than a decade in Washington, D.C. That's where she released Changemakers at the height of the pandemic and amidst a social justice reckoning that shook the country. Ahead of her headlining appearance at WGLT's Highway 309 live event, Matthews tells WGLT's Lauren Warnicki that the move to Nashville wasn't just strategic, it was about reconnecting with her identity and reclaiming country music.
It doesn't get much more country than my hometown. It's kind of this conversation that everybody's having right now with all of this stuff with Beyonce's new song. It's like, yo, that lady is from Houston, Texas. Right. Of course she sings country music. She is from H-Town. And, this idea, somehow this notion that Black people don't have a right to country music, even though we very much built the South, literally our blood, sweat, and tears. And so much of the culture of the South is Black culture. So much of the culture of country music is rooted in our experiences, our ancestors' experiences. And so this odd juxtaposition of these genres that are historically rooted in Black American culture, but are so often the least friendly, the least welcoming to us. I think the truth of some of those things that some people consider political, I think we need a little bit more of that in country music. So I'm really looking forward to blending a bunch of those two sides of myself, those two sides of my songwriting and storytelling in one project.
Listening to Changemakers, for me growing up in the 90s, I hear Indigo Girls, right? I hear this deeply embedded social justice messaging within this gorgeous box.
For the women with steel in their bones, the ones with titanium skin, I see you, I hear and believe you. May the truth win out in the end.
And then when you kind of juxtapose the space that they were in with like the Chicks, right? And how they were kind of run out of town for having overtly political messaging in their music. Do you think that country music is quote unquote ready to have a different kind of conversation about...
Which is exactly why we need to be having it. Okay. Which is exactly why we need to be having it.
Ayana and Darnisha, Tamir, Taisha and Trayvon, Michael Brown and Jordan Davis, William Chapman and Laquan, Keith McLeod and Tyree Crawford, Jordan Edwards and Devon, Antoine Rose, Victor Steen, Jeremy Lake and Patterson Brown.
I mean, I think that's such a powerful point. I think the way that the Chicks were treated and the way that we're seeing them kind of welcomed back into the fold for so many people, and like revered as heroines for so many people, because of their stances, because of the work that they were willing to do with their art. Gaslighter is such an awesome album, like their most recent album, and they really are kind of saying again to the country music establishment, like, look, this is who we are. Like, this is it. We're not doing anything other than just being us. This stuff matters to us. These are our truths. We're singing these songs. You're seeing so many artists kind of having this conversation with the country music establishment, with the Americana establishment as well. You know, Jason Isbell and so many of those artists have been doing this work as well with their art, like just really holding truth to power, speaking truth to power with their art. And so it's a really important time, I think, to be leaning into this idea of just being fully ourselves authentically in our music. It's so ironic to me that a genre that has the audacity to label itself Americana seems hellbent on not actually being that. What makes people American is so multifaceted. And so for them to kind of perpetuate this idea that it only is going to look like one thing, which is a straight white guy, is
with
madness.
A truck,
and so,
a straight white guy with a truck. Let's be clear.
I have the truck for sure. You know, as I drive in my Honda right now.
Yeah.
You know, this is the thing that I'm so excited about with this project, and specifically with this moment. You know, yeah, it is very scary to be living in Tennessee right now, being as Black and as butch as I am, but it is also a really important time to be in Tennessee, adding, you know, my voice to the chorus of other artists who are down there trying to do this work, trying to make this genre, the home of country music, be more what it should be.
I've traveled all across this land, up the Gold Coast and back home again. Found common ground round every bend, and far fewer strangers than I've found friends. A little princess.
I read Rhiannon Giddens' piece in The Guardian about, you know, the roots of country music being created by, not influenced by Black music, but being created by Black people. And it was such an important reminder of where this music comes from. I think we have a deeper awareness of that fact in like blues and jazz. But at some point, country became something else, or at least the visible parts of country music became something else.
That part.
Yeah.
That part right
there. Yeah. And I think, you know, this conversation is kind of having a moment. Thank you, Beyonce, and thank you, Tracy Chapman, right? I mean, how does this feel for the folks who have been in that space all along?
I think that most of us who do this work are selfless enough to not really care about the fact that it's now getting this attention. I mean, we're just glad that more people are kind of on board and having this conversation now. It's like, as everybody's talking about Beyonce, and I am happy to see that in so many of these articles and so many of these conversations, people like her and Miko Marks and, Holly G and the work that she's doing with Black Opry are being mentioned and talked about as well, because it does matter. But I think at the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing, which is for the actual story to be told about what place and significance Black artistry, Black people, Black culture has in country music, and to authentically hold that truth as we move forward as a genre and as a music community.
Got to find a way to get in the way. Speak out every day. Freedom riders or letter writers, do what you can, just shine your light brighter.
So you've raised almost $45,000 through Kickstarter to do this new album. You are a fully independent artist. You don't operate under any label. Is that a self-inflicted choice, or are you waiting for the right moment?
If there is an artist if there's a label out there who is looking for a Black butch lesbian who sings social justice music, sign me up. I'll happily jump on board. But they just don't seem to really be out there, and it matters to me very much to be able to tell the stories that I want to tell the way that I want to tell them, and not feel like I have to be beholden to anybody. And so if there's some label that just wants to cut me checks and let me keep doing this work, I'll happily jump on a label.
They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. Oh Lord, we've struggled so long. We must be free. We must be free. Black lives matter. Oh yes, they do.
Chris Matthews headlines Highway 309 Live at the Normal Theater on Wednesday, March 20th. Peoria Sarah and the Underground will open the evening beginning at 6. Now, if you missed Lauren's interview with Sarah Marie Dillard, you can listen to it at WGLT.org. All Highway 309 live concerts are free.
Support for arts and culture coverage on WGLT comes from PNC Financial Services. PNC is committed to supporting local arts and culture events in the communities they serve.
Thanks for listening to Sound Ideas. This is WGLT's news magazine. There are a lot of emotions in the waiting room of a hospital. At Carle BroMenn Medical Center in Normal, a baby grand piano in the atrium is creating a relaxing environment for patients, their families, and staff members. WGLT student reporter Evie York has this story.
Ardith Allen is one of 16 volunteer pianists who together provide 26 hours of music every week at Carle BroMenn. Allen has volunteered for 8 years. She's from Portland, Oregon, where she did accompaniment for high school students' music contests and choirs. She says the music at Carle BroMenn relieves anxiety for family members who wait for their loved ones to get out of surgery or to hear news about a diagnosis. Allen says it's rewarding when they stop by to pay a compliment.
I think the favorite part is just seeing the contentment of people that sit here and have to wait. I can tell when people are relaxing a little bit more and enjoying it. So that's what gives me the most joy.
The vision for piano music at Carle BroMenn came in 2009 from manager of volunteer services Sue Sebring. She says one measure of its success came during the COVID-19 pandemic.
And the minute we started getting the volunteers to come back, and actually the pianists were requested to come back pretty early in COVID. We were probably 4 months into COVID, so it was still at the height of everything. One of our directors actually started crying, and she said this is what felt like normalcy again, is to have the music.
For the piano to be effective, it is important for the volunteers to play the right type of music. Sebring says she tells the volunteers to play light, soft, and inspirational music. She also knows what musician is at the piano by the type of music she hears throughout the hospital. David Hurst has volunteered at Carle BroMenn for 8 years too, in various capacities, including the piano. Hurst was a teacher professionally, and he uses music as a way to escape to a place of joy. Hurst says his library at home is filled with binders of all types of music, from Broadway tunes to seasonal fare.
Without a doubt, like the one that gets the most comments are Disney. Like if I play any of the music from Cinderella, any of the music from Beauty and the Beast, people will say, that's my favorite movie, or I took my grandkids to see that movie. So I get a lot of comments. And then recently, I've been doing some Jim Brickman pieces, and they're kind of like calming music, and a lot of people will come back and say, I just needed to hear something calm.
Sebring says they've used 3 pianos since the program began. While the first 2 were donated by volunteers, the hospital's physicians fundraised for the 3rd and current one. A team of employees did a hospital fundraising run on a team called Marathoners for Music, with the proceeds helping to pay for the piano.
And that helped spear the drive to get more music here and to have this beautiful conservatory baby grand piano that we currently have. We did also a little bit more fundraising from that to finish the cost of that piano, but we've had that piano since 2012, and it's just been such a gift to our patients, our families, the physicians enjoy it, and our volunteers, everybody that walks in loves that piano and loves the music.
The goal of the piano music is to make a positive impact on the people who come through the hospital, whether that be patients, family members, or staff. But it's not just about the listeners. The volunteers themselves see a change in their mindset while playing. Hurst says playing the piano allows him to relax his mind and causes him to lose track of space and time.
You're just kind of traveling with the sound. And so it's really kind of, for me, almost like a prayer-like state, that I'll realize that 45 minutes have gone by and I couldn't tell you where I was. You know, that I'm just kind of out there in putting out healing sound, and that is wonderful. That's a great feeling.
Both Alan and Hurst plan on continuing to volunteer at Carle BroMenn, playing the piano, as well as with the other volunteer opportunities that the hospital has to offer.
We really work as a team to make it the best possible environment for people that are coming to the hospital. And knowing that you've done that is it's a great feeling, you know, and knowing that you've done it with a team of people that care.
I'm Evie York.
The hospital is always looking for volunteers. If that sounds like you, contact Sue Sebring at 309-268-5397. WGLT wants to hear your suggestions for heartwarming stories of good stuff happening in our communities. Contact us through our website, social media pages, or by emailing us at news@wglt.org. And that's Sound Ideas today, WGLT's news magazine, made possible in part by Bloomington Normal Audiology. I'm John Norton, with thanks to WGLT's Melissa Allen and Lauren Warnicki for stories, and her debut on Sound Ideas, WGLT's student reporter Evie York. Ryan Toohey edits the show. This is 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.